I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's webcast. Psalm 91 is one of the most fascinating psalms in the entire collection. It tells the story of the Desert Storm War in 1991. And hey, Gary Stearman is with me today. Gary, let's talk about Psalm 91.
Psalm 91, and J.R., this one has portent, historically speaking. Let me read the first two verses. Number 1, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him will I trust. Now, the plain language here, J.R., is finding protection in the Lord. And this term, Most High, El Elyon, is a term or a name of God that's associated with his power as a protector.
Mm-hmm. In fact, throughout the entire psalm, it is protection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of, and by the way, I wrote Hidden Prophecies in the Psalms back in 1986. We first came across the idea in 1983, 3 years to write the book, published the book in 1986. We're talking 1991 here. We didn't know what Psalm 91 is going to do.
That's true.
In that book, however, I did say that it looked like a big war.
And it was.
You know? And so here we've got Desert Storm. And listen, there was one company that put out a little booklet on Psalm 91. And they called it Psalm 91. And gave it out free to all the troops in Desert Storm. Mm-hmm. Then I saw a little ad, or a little article, in New York Times magazine, where one of the nurses over there in the Desert Storm War quoted Psalm 91 and says, "That's us. We are under the protection of God in this war."
Yeah.
And then I saw headline stories about various groups of families getting together to pray for the boys over there in Desert Storm War. And they were quoting Psalm 91 and praying Psalm 91.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, it's the most fantastic thing I've ever seen. Psalm 91 was validated as the psalm. I'm talking about by ABC News, NBC, CBS, all the big...
Time Magazine.
Yeah, Time Magazine had a piece on Psalm 91 describing the Desert Storm War.
That's right. And J.R., the third verse here is particularly meaningful. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. That term noisome pestilence, if you go back to the Hebrew, really means something like a raging epidemic. And if you recall, at that time, Middle Eastern war powers were beginning to experiment with chemical and biological warfare. And the real fear was that a biological plague would be loosed in that process. But it says here, he shall deliver thee from the raging epidemic.
Yeah. Yeah, and 39 Scud missiles were lobbed into Israel by Saddam Hussein.
That's right.
And the fear was that they would have chemical or biological weapons attached to those things. And it goes on to say, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. Gary, those Scud missiles came in by night and day.
They did. I think everybody remembers the television pictures, and we all remember seeing the explosions in the sky, and all of this, 1991.
Mm-hmm. Nor for the arrow that flieth by day, those Scud missiles look like arrows. Mm-hmm. And nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness. In other words, God is saying to the Jewish people, don't worry about these Scud missiles. They're not going to come near you. It says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Gary, it seems like God had some angels over Israel, and every time one of those Scud missiles would come in, they would direct it to a vacant lot.
And in the end, the casualties in Iran, Iraq, and around the vicinity of the Persian Gulf, that the collateral casualties were in the thousands, but Israel was delivered.
Yeah, I think there was one person died of a heart attack
That's right.
because of the noise of the Scud missiles. And you remember the people would put on their gas masks?
Yes.
And they would go into their little secret place and put tapes on the windows and under the doors and seal everything off. Ah, he that dwelleth in the secret place. That's verse 1. This is an
It is.
absolutely incredible
The
psalm.
sealed rooms.
Yeah. And it goes on to say, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. He shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up with their hands. That has to be one of the most profound psalms in all of the collection, and it was fulfilled with distinction in 1991.
J.R.,
Amazing.
it's astounding the way history is written in advance in the Bible. The Jews themselves, J.R., have called the Psalms a history of their people written in advance. This is the way they think of the Psalms.
Yeah.
We, as Christians, don't usually think of it that way, but believe me, if you study, you'll see it's true.
Yeah. So, I would like for you to get our DVD, The Prophetic Psalms. It's a lecture that I gave before a live audience at a prophecy conference in Florida. And I spell out many of the things in the Psalms. Be a fascinating sermon for you to hear, and you'd love it. I'm going to give it to you for a gift to help us finish out our television studio here. And you see this widescreen that we have here on the website. We'd like to do the widescreen for our television stations, but we need some recorders. We need some various pieces of equipment. And it looks like it's going to run somewhere around $15,000 to $16,000 for this equipment, in addition, of course, to the camera that we have bought. So please help us out if you can. And when you call the phone number at the bottom of your screen, 1-800-475-1111. And when you call, ask for the Prophetic Psalms. We'll be glad to send it to you as our way of saying thank you for your help to finish up our television studio. Gary, it's been good to see you today.
J.R., it's good to be here, and we're just going to start a whole new year coming up. And think of widescreen in the coming year, in the year 2010.
Yeah, widescreen and skinny people.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Well, I'm J.R. Church with Gary Stearman. God bless you today. We'll see you again tomorrow with our webcast.